But people, they like it. They like being tribal. They like being a part of a clique. They like being a part of a team. And
yeah, man. So I don't agree with that. Okay, tribalism. What he's doing here is reification. Okay, he's trying to say that tribalism is innate. It is natural. It's just the way things are. Okay, it's not, man. It's not. Certainly not in the way that we are seeing it right now. Like, this political landscape is very strange, and it's not because fucking football ain't popular anymore. Dumb fuck. Football is still popular. Okay, it's because of material conditions. It's because people be poor. Wow.
People.
Wow. Welcome back to the J-Star broadcast. It's me. It's me. I'm J-Star. Today, we are looking at Mr. Tom Foe. Okay, we're looking at this video is called Why Gen Z is So Cultish.
Going to be a yapping session, so I don't want to hear anybody saying, what the hell are you talking about? What does this all mean? What's the point of this? Look, I don't even know. All right, this is just something I've been thinking about, and so it's going to be a yapping session. We're just going to explore this thought together. We'll just have to see. But basically, the past few weeks, and even the past couple times I've interacted with other people, whether it's me going on Focus Trip or even the debate I did a few days ago on Nav, it's like the topic comes up of Gen Z being cultish and kind of having like these cult-like tendencies and not really thinking for themselves. And that's something I've thought about quite a bit over the past couple weeks. I've even mentioned it a few times in different videos where I've just come out and said it. It's like, yeah, Gen Z is very cult-like. My generation is very cultish, and it's not going away anytime soon. In fact, it's progressively getting more intense. And I kind of think it's like that with everybody. The difference being is that for past generations, you had so many different distractions. You had the bread, you had the circus, sports, movies. And I mean, look at every metric now. Look at all of those things today. I think it's objectively factual, all of those things, whether you're talking about films or music or video games or sports, it's all gotten worse. It's all gotten more lame. It's not as interesting or entertaining. People don't really care as much. And because the distractions have gotten worse, people are...
Yeah, but that's just a bigger symptom of a larger problem. The reason that entertainment has gotten worse is because entertainers aren't as thoroughly compensated as they used to be, generally. Okay, it's not true across the board, but and by entertainers, I'm not just talking about actors and speakers and whatnot, personalities. I'm talking about like developers, directors, right? Writers, just across the board. They're paid shit. They're paid garbage. And so they make shit. They make garbage. They're overworked and underpaid. And make no mistake, that's why this is happening. Okay, but anyway, the point that he's making is actually a pretty good, pretty solid point, Tom Foe. Good job. Because this shitty art in the past, art has been used as a distraction, right? You may not really be living as good as your parents or people from the previous generation, but at least you have the bread and circus, right? At least you have entertainment. Okay, as the years go on, it's just getting worse and worse. He's right about that. But anyway,
to look at the real world, and then they see, well, shit, the real world's getting worse. And my quality of life is going down, and I'm making less money than I should be, and everything is so expensive, and it seems like I'm paying into the system that isn't going to benefit me whatsoever. In fact, it seems like I'm getting screwed over, and everything is just benefiting some foreign country in the Middle East, or some corporate overlord, and it's some corporate interest that's getting more out of this. I'm not even going to get Social Security. So all of those illusions that you had got worse. You take a look at the real world is getting progressively worse. Everything's getting shittier. Your quality of life is going down more and more. And so I would say not even just Gen Z, I would say most people are becoming more cult-like, because what do those things do? They push you more into the political sphere, because those are issues and problems that have to be fixed with politics. Whether you think the politics is real or you think it's bullshit, ultimately the leaders, the people in charge, whatever you want to call it, they are the only ones that can come up with solutions or at least enact policies to fix those problems. And so the people stop.
Yeah, no, I disagree with that first part. They're the only ones that can enact policies. You're right about that. I don't think we should rely on them to come up with ideas. That's why it's important for our representatives to listen to their constituents.
Watching sports, and they stop giving a shit about it, and they get more involved into the political sphere. Now, you want to know why Gen Z is so political? You want to know why they're so cultish for so many different things? And it's not just politics, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but you want to know why a lot of it is politics? Is because all of those problems I just talked about. All the disillusion of the bread and circus, Gen Z was born into all of that. And there was never a single moment in Gen Z's adult life to where they weren't facing those issues. I mean, you want to talk about a problem in society? The dating market. relationships. They're pretty bad. The whole structure with the family court system, issues of divorce, child custody, like all of these problems, and that is a big issue, and that's been a big issue for a very long time. But the dating market as a whole, just relationships as a whole, it's gotten worse, and it's been bad ever since I started dating. Before I was old enough to date, there was Tinder. And before Tinder, there was Hot or Not. And before Hot or Not, there was Facebook, and people were meeting online. And so social media, all of these different things have affected dating. Politics has affected dating. So for Gen Z...
Once again, you're focusing on the symptoms of a larger problem. All right, dating is bad for two reasons. Because of what I was talking about before, everybody's poor, right? When you're poor, you can't afford to take someone out on a date. All right, you can't think about moving in together. When you're both poor, most people are poor. Okay, and we're artificially poor. It's not just that, like, there isn't money in our country, right? Housing is artificially inflated. Electricity, utilities, internet bills. These things are artificially inflated. Obviously. Alright, but anyway. The second reason that dating sucks is because of society. Society. That's right, I'm gonna make a society argument now, okay? Society, what are men taught when it comes to dating? Men are basically taught that dating is a game, okay? And I'm not saying across the board, but like generally, men see dating as a game. Some win, some lose. If you lose, you try again, okay? It's a game. It's a game. This is incorrect, okay? This is wrong. And many women see it this way too, but by and large, women don't really see it that way. Okay, they see it as, you know, a relationship that you build with another person. And that's because women are you know, they are more emotionally introspective. Right? So men, and that's because they are taught to be. Okay, men generally are not. Men are supposed to you know, retreat from their feelings. They're supposed to hide it away, right? And most men, as I've said before, they confide in people. It's not that they don't do that. It's just that they are shamed for doing it in social situations in public, unlike women. And so basically, men are like emotionally stunted, okay? That's basically what I'm saying. And women aren't as much. Or they are, but it's in a different way, okay? But anyway,
there's never been like a moment of fresh air. There's never been a moment for the majority of them to where they were completely distracted by all the illusions. They kind of always had shit just shoved down their throats. Even with me growing up, it was that, you know, white men are bad, being a man is bad, don't be toxic, don't be masculine, like it's evil.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, that's totally what we heard growing up. Yeah, if you're a man, you're bad. Yeah, all the time. Growing up, people were telling me like, you're bad. You're a man. You're bad. Yeah, I'm kidding, of course. I never fucking heard that. I did hear a lot of woke-tard shit. Don't get me wrong. Like, you know, men need to express their feelings and yada yada. Okay. Like, you know, we as boys, we were encouraged to do that, to like express ourselves. But like I said, when you know the retaliation against men that express themselves, that never went away. So like, you know, let me stop being vague. Let's give an example. Okay, let's say I'm in middle school, right, and I have like a really bad home life. And, you know, but, okay, look, me personally, right, this sounds like a real story, okay, I did have a shit home life, but, like, I never cried in school, like, because I knew better, right, and most men did, but, like, let's say you didn't, right, let's say I didn't, and let's say I, like, cry in the hallways in middle school, or something, I'm, like, crying, okay, is that really wrong to do, right, is that, like... Is it wrong for a boy to do that? I don't think so. But anyway, like, what would happen? Okay, obviously, that kid would, would get fucking bullied. Okay, of course he would. And that's just the way to, and the same doesn't happen to girls. Alright, so, all that is to say is, like, men are told to express themselves, but then if they actually do it, they get made fun of, they get ostracized, right? They get bullied. Okay, that's how it works. So there's this disconnect, there's this lag between what is expected of us, what we are told is virtuous, and what, like, actually happens, right, in real life.
What's wrong? Feminism is good. Gays are good. Trans are good. You should support this. You should support that. All the woke messaging. And so that's why, you know, you talk to a lot of older people and they'll say, like, when I was younger.
I don't know what fucking school you went to. You're older than me, Tom, right? I never heard about fucking trans people in school. In a classroom. Right, in the hallways, sure. At the lunch table, sure. But unless I was hanging out with my libtard friends, which I did have a group of libs that I hung out with, it was never about, like, accepting them. And even with them, it was just, you know, usually the conversation wasn't about that.
You know, we were always political, but we weren't like this. We weren't like you guys. You guys just let it get too extreme. And it's like, dude, that's just the way things are. Pandora's box has been opened. There's no going back from that. A lot of people have this idea that if we defeat woke, if we defeat wokeism, and if we defeat liberals, we can return to the way things were before that. And it's like, dude, that's never happening. It doesn't matter if it's with media, like movies, video games. Any attempt to not be woke when it comes to entertainment is never going to feel the same way it did before COVID or before 9/11. The world before 9/11, the world before COVID is dead, and it's never returning. You want like that early 2000s magic cinema where like the movies just felt good and they weren't preaching some message to you, or at least it wasn't very obvious what they were doing. And some people would say, well, that's the 90s or that's the 80s or that's really the 70s. It always goes back a decade, depending on who you ask. But you're never going to get that ever. Any attempt to not be woke with any type of entertainment is just going to be from the point of view of trying not to be woke. It's going to be very conscious from the people involved to not.
Movies were always woke, man. It's so funny that he's saying this while he's playing a fucking Star Wars video game, okay? I know, Reddit moment, but, like, it's true. It's true. Okay, what do you think Star Wars is about, man? Who do you think the Empire is? I mean, it's fucking true, bro. Like, what?
Not do those things.
The fuck
so you're never
going to
have that exact feeling. You're never going to have that magic that you once had. The Pandora's box has been opened. It's too late. You can never go back. Like, maybe your great-great-grandkids, depending on what world you leave for them, they might be able to have that, but you and me, no. We never get that, ever. And why does that matter about being cultish? Well, the point is that people are always cultish. That's just how humans are. That's just how we are. We like being followers. We like being part of a movement, a group, because all it is tribalism. And the problem is that we had the bread, we had the circus, and a big part of that was stuff like sports. What are sports? What is a sports team? It's tribalism. That's what it is. It gives you almost the exact same emotions you would get from a battle or supporting your team during a war or whatever. It replicates those things in a way to where it scratches that tribalism itch in the masses. And you see people, bro. You'll see people move from one city to another. And even though this other city has a completely different sports team, they'll still rep their home team. Yeah, I know you guys like the Eagles, but my home team's the Seahawks. Or yeah, you like the Seahawks, but my home team's the Patriots. It's like, what can I say? What can I say? I gotta rep my home team. And it's kind of like you get the same thing with immigration. You'll have people move to America and supposedly assimilate into the culture and into the country, but then there will be like certain moments where people be like, oh yeah, I'm not American, I'm from here. My ancestors are from here.
Like
I'm Mexican, I'm Indian, I'm from Europe. And it's the same shit. You get that with sports teams. It's like they're repping their tribe. And then you have the games, which are like battles. And then you have the seasons, which is like a war. It's the same thing. It replicates the same thing on a social level. It scratches the itch for a lot of people, but you get a lot of the same things. You get fan wars, you get actual physical violence sometimes, you get arguments, you get people disowning certain family members because of the team shit. I mean, that's very rare, but it happens. And the thing is, that's like the point I'm saying is like a lot of that stuff that was used to scratch that tribalist itch, a lot of that stuff is gone. Like I said, it's not as interesting or it's not as cool. So with Gen Z, right, you have them not having the illusions, you have them having all these fucked up things, whether it's dating or the job market or the economy, the quality of life, can't, afford owning a house. So it pushes them into the political sphere. They don't give a fuck about sports for the most part. Still a lot of them do, but for the most part, they are interested in politics because that's where they have to be. They're pushed into it. And so yeah, they become more cultish because they already were. People already are cultish, whether it's religion, or it's sports teams, or it's types of movies, or fuck, dude, you had people arguing over what phone you were using. Like, that fucking matters. Are you iPhone or are you Android? Like, the fucking NSA isn't listening to you regardless of which phone you're using. It doesn't fucking matter. But people, they like it. They like being tribal. They like being a part of a clique. They like being a part of a team. And
yeah, man. So, I don't agree with that, okay? Tribalism, what he's doing here is reification, okay? He's trying to say that tribalism is innate, it is natural, it's just the way things are. Okay, it's not, man. It's not, certainly not in the way that we are seeing it right now. Like, this political landscape is very strange, and it's not because fucking football ain't popular anymore. Dumb fuck. Football is still popular. Okay, it's because of material conditions. It's because people be poor. Wow.
Majority of people, they like to think that they're individuals and that they think for themselves, but that's just not the case. And I'll even self-admit it. I'm the same way. I'm not here to just say my entire generation is cultish except me. I'm a part of it just like anybody else. And it's not going away, and it's not getting less and less cultish. It's getting more extreme because the political side of it, it's a little different than sports. You know, with sports, you can't have people get emotional, and you can't have people get angry, and you can't have winners, and you can have losers, of course. But with politics, that actually can lead to violence. A political ideology, it doesn't even have to be something that's necessarily accepted socially. It could be something extreme and radical, but it all leads to violence. Ultimately, you have one political ideology that has to dominate another. They can try and pick and choose certain things. They can try and negotiate. They can try and, work together, but ultimately one has to be dominant over the other. And the only way that's enforced is through violence. It's through the force arm. You'll see people like Andrew Wilson, who I like Andrew Wilson quite a bit. He talks about this all the time when it comes to the force arm. Who's actually enforcing the laws? Well, if it's men, then men are the ones who are really in charge. And I'm not going to go into this whole argument, but the point being is that when it comes to politics, you have everyone, not just Gen Z, but Gen Z was born into this. You have them getting into all these radical, extreme political movements. And
that's fucking stupid. No, it isn't the enforcement mechanism that it is like in charge. Okay, the question is who is writing the legislation and what are their motivations? That is the most important question in our society, in all societies. Who is writing the policy? Who are they writing it for? That's it. Okay, now the second question is the courts. Okay, the interpretation of laws. What are their motivations? What are they trying to accomplish? The answer to all of these questions in our society is to make a small group of people even more unfathomably rich, and to keep us, normal people, as subservient workers that will not step out of line or question the system. That's it.
Ideologies, taboos, and it's in a sphere where that leads to violence. It leads to a struggle, it leads to wars, and it leads to emotions getting raised, it leads to people dying. And the thing is, a lot of people understand that. They get that. They'll listen to what I'm saying, and they'll completely agree. They'll be like, all right, I get it, but what's the point of this video? Like, why are you pointing it out? The reason why I'm pointing it out is because so many will say, like, well, Gen Z doesn't think for themselves, or they don't, do their own thing. They're very cultish in the way they behave. And the answer to that, at least what I can come up with right now, is like, well, no shit. What the fuck did you think was gonna happen? You think you can have Weimar 2.0 and you don't get Weimar solutions? You think you can have all these problems and all this?
He's talking about Nazis, by the way. Talking about the final solution. For anybody that doesn't know, the Weimar Republic ended when the Nazis seized control over the country, and they were able to do that because they declared an emergency. Hitler declared an emergency after the Reichstag fire, and he got elected by slim margins, and he made backdoor deals and yada yada. That's how it worked. Anyway, America in its current form is similar to Weimar Germany. So, oh yeah, but anyway, Gen Z is, like I said, they are polarized politically, not because tribalism is inevitable, but because everybody is poor.
Degeneracy, you think you can have this decadence that has lasted to the point to where society is rotting in so many different areas, and then the circus and the bread sucks, and people are starting to kind of look around and see how horrible everything's getting. You think you can have all that, and you really expect the future generations to think for themselves or to want to do that? No. It is in your DNA, it is in your instincts as a human to be like, okay, shit is getting bad. Where's the tribe? Where's the group? Shit's gonna go down. Where's my people at? Which group am I gonna be a part of? Because if I want to survive or if I want to make this better, I can't do it on my own. I can't just be the ultimate individual, because that's how you lose. The lone wolf dies. You need to be a part of a group. And I don't even think that's something people have to consciously think about. I think that's just a subconscious reaction to the society and the problems that we're facing. You just instinctually know, I need to join up with somebody. I need to kind of find my group. And I think that's what's happened, but it happened to Gen Z at the very beginning. For a lot of them, even before they were adults. And they're kind of just thrown into this political sphere that's just fucking insane. And I don't think anybody would doubt that it's not insane. I think everybody acknowledges that, but you can't expect them to become more individualistic or not become cultish. They'll say, oh, you have a leader and that person thinks for you. It's like, dude, everybody does that. Everybody at this point in time that is involved in politics has almost no original thoughts. Unless you're doing DMT and you're speaking to the trees and you're having conversations with fucking caterpillars and shit, and you're so acid tripped out of your fucking head that you're seeing like 40 dimensional beings speak to you in your wet dreams and shit. Unless you're doing some like insane shit and then you're talking, I don't think you have original ideas at this point. I think everybody has been influenced by something, whether it's a politician or a podcaster or a book or a teacher or a philosopher that died hundreds of years ago. I think at this point in time, you're shaped by other ideas that are not your own. And in that, I think a lot of people who are truly individualistic, which I do think there are people who are like that. But unfortunately for you, you're kind of entering an age of the West to where that doesn't really matter so much. In fact, it kind of puts you at a disadvantage because you can be an individualistic person and think for yourself, and that's all well and good. But the way things are going, you will have to pick a side. The way things are heading, it's like you are going to have to be LARPed in with another group of people.
Yeah, okay. So do you want to be with evil maxing Mecha Hitler supporters? Or do you want to side with normal people that think that, like, trans people aren't secret demon people? Abortion isn't murder, you know? Which side,
if you ultimately want to survive, or if you want the best outcome for yourself, you're going to have to figure out which group you identify with. And the majority of those people, they're not going to be thinking for themselves. Because the majority of people just are not capable of doing that. They don't think about politics, at least in the ways that matter. They see it on just the surface level, and that's it. That's where it ends. And so, unfortunately, you're kind of at the mercy of the majority. And I mean, I'm not saying like you should feel bad. I'm just saying it's like this thing I keep seeing where people are like, you don't think for yourself, you do this or you do that. And it's like, dude, there's a chance you don't think for yourself either. And even if you did, it's not like that's going to help you. That's not going away. Like I said, Weimar problems, Weimar 2.0, you don't get away from that without Weimar solutions. You don't get away from that without a more extreme response. You can't expect to create this decadent, degenerate society and then at the same time be surprised that the future generations are becoming more radicalized and more cultish. Of course they are, because that's the way things are going. It's going in a way to where these people want to save it. They want to do something to salvage it or to renew it or restore it. And even if they don't understand, they at least have the instinct to kind of go in a certain direction, which is being a part of a group, which is following a leader. That's what it's going to be. That's ultimately where it's going to be. And if you think it's bad with Gen Z, if you think Gen Z is just too cultish, wait till you see Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha, it's going to be even more so. Dude, think about for Gen Z, 1/3 of the entire generation was aborted, right? How much more is it for Gen Alpha? Do you even know? I'm sure somebody can try and figure it out. There hasn't been like an official study I've seen. But how much more do you think it is really? Let's be honest here. It's probably more than 1/3. And 1/3 is a fuckload of people, dude. That's a lot of people just never existed. That's insane. You have that, which as somebody who's a part of Gen Z, I mean, like, dude, how does that really make you feel? I've thought about this quite a lot, and I don't think I've said it, but like the way it makes me feel, not that like the way I feel matters, but the way it makes me feel is disgusted. Like I think about it and it's like, wow, like so many people who are supposed to be leaders and mothers and fathers and just contribute to society, so many of them just like kill their kids. I mean, what else is there to say? It's like, it's crazy to think about. It really is. And that's even more so for Gen Alpha. And even with Gen Alpha, think about how many of the moms from that generation are going to be OnlyFans models.
Abortion, Thomas, abortion saves lives. Abortion doesn't end them. There was never a life in the first place. There was never a person life, right? You can say that it was like human cells that were alive, and you could even make a potentiality argument, but that's fucking stupid, because a potential person isn't an actual person. It's a non-person, okay? It's not, there is no person. Which I thought is what you were doing there, but then you said the parents, so you were talking about the parents. Okay, whatever. Abortion, if you don't want abortion to happen, then you want women to die. Whether you realize it or not. If you don't want abortion to happen, you want women to die. That's it.
Think about how many of them are going to have been involved in sex work. You think that's going to cause the young, fighting-age males of Gen Alpha to become more sophisticated, individualistic members of society? No, that's going to make them more violent, more radical. And honestly, you better fucking hope and pray to God that they become more cultish. You better hope and pray that they are just followers en masse and that they get a good leader. Because that's the only thing you can pray for at this point to kind of avoid mass collapse and violence. Because if they don't have somebody that is telling them, hey, this is what we're going to do, this is how we turn things around, this is how we save this place, it will be just like the society eating itself alive. But in a way you could have never imagined. It's not going to be good. So it's like, yeah, you talk about this stuff and it's like, well, what am I even saying with all this? I'm saying it's like, why would you be surprised? I've talked to people quite a bit and they're like, well, yeah, you guys, you don't really think for yourselves. And it's like, why are you fucking surprised at that? Is that so insane to you to think that? When you look at the entire picture of things and the way it's all gone, and even all of human history, I can make the argument that nobody really thinks for themselves. It's just the older generations had more and more bullshit to distract them with that didn't fucking matter. Gen Z doesn't have that. Everything sucks. Quality of life is getting worse, so that forces them into politics, which leads to violence, which leads to radicalization. So of course you're gonna get that. You always have it. To the people that aren't like that, it's kind of even more scary if you think about it, because you're gonna have to pick a side. You have two options. You're either gonna have to pick a side or you're gonna have to become a cult leader. That's the only way you're gonna get out of it, man. You can't just be lone wolfing it by yourself. I mean, maybe if you move into the mountains and you don't talk to anybody ever again, you might be able to get out of it. But like, if you're living in this world and this society in the West, you do have to pick a side. You do have to join up with somebody who's a leader, who does have a lot of people. And you know, people, they don't want to think for themselves. They just want to be told what to do because they want to stop the direction this is all going. They just want someone to say, hey, I'll be the leader, I'll take charge. But it can't just be anybody. It has to be somebody they resonate with. And this is the other problem, because a lot of older people, they know this, they kind of get it, but this is the part they don't understand, is the fact that it has to be somebody that resonates with people. It's not enough to just say all the right things. It's not enough to just think you're masculine. Oh, it's time for a real man. Step up to the plate. It's like nobody gives a shit about that. This fucking tough guy bullshit. Nobody buys that. Nobody cares. It's actually younger guys, they look at that and they really think it's pathetic. It's not even cool to us, but it is something to be said. It's like, you can't just show up and be like, I'm the leader now, I'm better than you. You have to kind of earn that. You do have to kind of win it. You have to resonate. You actually have to have the qualities of what it is to be a leader. And that's why I say for the individualistic people, the only thing that's going to win, the only thing that's going to survive is what group wins, what group dominates, what beliefs, what ideology, what group of people, or what leader who has followers who are loyal. The ones that are inspired will go the extra mile. And it's kind of like that meme where it's, oh, you want to win and you want your enemies to lose. Isn't that a bit hypocritical? Isn't that a bit hypocritical that you actually like want to win and you want to like survive and shit? It's like, that's it. You want to know what the cultist Gen Z is going to be like? It doesn't matter if you're talking about dissident right, dissident left, GOP, Dims, that's where it's going. The group that says, I don't care, I want to win, that's the group that more likely is going to be the ones that survive. And so, yeah, I'm not saying you can't make fun of people. I'm not saying you can't make fun of me. Like I said, I'm not here to count myself out. I'm just as cultish as anybody else in my generation. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm not that at all. So if you want to make fun of me for that, that's fine. You want to make fun of other people for that, that's fine as well. But I guess the point of this conversation that we just had, you know, the answer to the question, why is Gen Z so cultish, is like, why would they not be? Why are you surprised? That's the real question. Why are you surprised? In fact, you should be asking, why is it not more extreme than it is currently? Well, don't worry. It's going to get more extreme. It's going to progress. The pendulum is swinging. There's a lot of pendulums. They're swinging in different ways. But for that one, it's been gearing up for decades, and it's fixing to swing the other way. And I don't think people are going to be ready for it. I think it's going to be very weird for a lot of people. They're going to be like, where did all this come from? They're all hypocrites. They're not being fair at all. They're not, what is all this? I thought we were all supposed to work together. And it's like, nah, fuck you. We actually want to win. We want to survive. We want to, you know, take the country back. That's kind of like where it's going. And I don't think people have recognized that. But also, I've noticed a lot of people, they still use that as some type of like gotcha.
Yeah,
they're like, oh, you don't think for yourself.
When have right-wing people ever played fair, man? Like, when? It has always been like this. It's always been the fucking Democrats. We go high when they go low. That's it. That's it. Every fucking year, every election, every time. Every time. But the Democrats are no different. Alright, they pretend and they lose on purpose. But then when they actually win, what do? They do the same thing that Republicans do. It's endless death and destruction overseas. It is the gutting of our social services here at home. It's business as usual. Every time, man.
Motherfucker, I don't care. If the reason our leaders led our country to this point to where it's gotten so degenerate and fucked up is because they were thinking for themselves. And
but yeah, you're right, really, man.
But that illusion of like, I'm an individual, I can think for myself, I can be my own person.
Republicans are gonna save this country. Right, because they've done such a good job so far. With their overwhelming majority in our House and Senate and
that's
in the White House and the Supreme Court.
Don't be surprised people are rejecting that en masse and they're becoming extremely cult-like because that's just human nature. That's what humans do. We don't have the luxury of doing that on shit that doesn't matter. Now, granted, there are a lot of people that still do. You got people in America who they become like stands for like fucking K-pop people. And all they do is worship like K-pop singers and shit, and that's their whole personality. I'm not here to say Gen Z doesn't have people like that, all right? I get it. I understand that is true, but I think it goes without saying, most people would agree Gen Z is definitely more radical when it comes to politics. They're more vocal. You can blame that on social media. You can blame that on Hollywood. You can blame that on teachers. I think it's literally everything.
I think blame it on money.
The entire social system as a whole has pushed Gen Z into this, and you can't take them out. And that's kind of the point. They are the generation that the torch is going to be passed to. We're going to be here after the millennials are gone. And that's like way later. I'm not going to say, like, oh, hey, that's happening next week. I'm just saying it's like we're not going anywhere. We're here, and it's going to be like that forever. For as long as we're here, it's going to be like that. And for honestly, as long as Gen Alpha's around, it's going to keep going in that direction until some group, some ideology, some belief absolutely dominates. This whole like back and forth, we can kind of like work together with certain, I think that was an illusion to begin with. I don't think anybody really truly believed in that except for people who didn't know better, and nobody's buying that anymore. That's going away. That's dying out with the boomers, and you're just going to see things get more and more extreme. So you want to know why Gen Z is so cult-like?
Yeah, I mean,
there's a reason. And I'm done with my TED Talk. I'm done with my yapping.
So you're kind of right
this
about
wasn't scripted. If you could not already tell, I've just been thinking about this for weeks, had a few conversations with some people, and it just kept coming up in my mind. So I was like, maybe I should explore this. And that's what I do. That's what I like doing. You know, that's what I like about this channel and about like making these videos is I can just, if I have an idea, I can just mess with it and see where does it go. Maybe it matters. Maybe nobody will care. But that's like the point is I want to express it, and I like that I can do that in real time and just record it and put it out on YouTube. I think that's really cool. Hopefully it wasn't a waste of time for you, but let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What's your opinions on this? What's like something you've noticed to the older people, the older generations? Because you guys, in a weird way, you've lived through, especially if you're like a Gen Xer, you've lived through so many different like social trends and just like different things that were like normalized. I'm really interested in your perspective on this, especially if you would let me know below. I would love to hear it, especially if you're a millennial, like anybody, even other Gen Z people. This is something that I am really interested in. And what is that like for older people to where you see something, it's not that extreme, and then you progressively watch it just like fucking go nuts? It's something I think is worth thinking about at least. And that's why I wanted to talk about it today. That's why I wanted to make the video. Plus, like when it comes to news and shit, there hasn't really been a lot going on. It's been very like tame. for news. And so I think the next couple videos I'm going to be making, it's going to be more different stuff I've made before, but not like me reacting to some news article or some shit, because it's more or less the same bullshit we've been getting. But if you haven't already watched it, man, you guys should definitely check out the Focus Trip collab I did. I went on there with Artie from Rhetorically Defective, Atlas Thugs, and we kind of had like a little discussion, debate, if you want to say.
I saw some clips from that. It looked boring.